Welcome back to another episode of the Here We Go podcast. Colin, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, good, man.
Good. So this was the revenge game, right? I mean, we had that brutal loss in Cleveland. A lot of the players didn't want to talk about it or frame it that way, but I mean, let's be honest, that's what it was. It was a revenge game, and or the get right game, as a lot of them were referring to it as. We get the win 27-14, officially knocked the Browns out of the playoffs, which no surprise there. But it takes us another step closer to getting into the playoffs. So I gave a video reaction kind of earlier in the week. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of start this thing off and tell us what you thought.
Well, again, I did go. So it was a good experience again. One thing that was kind of funny that me and my buddies kind of like talked about was like, so where we were sitting in our section, we were kind of at one of the end zones off to the left a little bit, and there were 5 touchdowns scored that game. Not one of them was scored on ours. Okay, either team. So I think all we got was a Boswell field goal and both of Hopkins misses. So that was definitely funny. But yeah, no, I mean, it was electric. That first quarter was infuriating. I mean, we were kind of sitting there and like, dude, it was just like, dude, it's something against the damn Browns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second quarter, we kind of started, we scored 10, right? Kind of off the rip too. That was kind of our coming out party. I thought overall it was a very sloppy game, to be honest. I didn't love the cleanliness or the cleanness of it, if you will. I thought other than that huge like TFL, like the loss of 5 that TJ had, he was kind of invisible. I don't know like what the Browns do to him to make him invisible, but they seem to be doing it very well. And it's kind of the opposite story with the Browns opposed to the Bengals and Ravens. It feels like some of TJ's career best games, or most of his career best games, are coming against Cincy, are coming against Baltimore, right? But it seems like the Browns, they just do something. I don't know what it is. I can't really put a finger on it, because it sure as hell isn't the talent of which they put at right tackle. I can promise you that. I don't know really what they do to kind of make it difficult for him, but kind of overall, I'm happy with the win. 27 points without George Pickens is definitely something to say about this offense. But overall, I just thought it was a sloppy game. But came out with the win. I'm happy. Got us to 10 wins, right? All we wanted all offseason. If we were to make the playoffs, what was the big number? It was 10, right? So that got us to our 10th win. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because the news about George came about an hour and a half right before kickoff, and I mean it was like right down to releasing the rosters of who's in, who's out, and that came very late, and it was kind of surprising. And my first initial reaction is just, oh, dude, we're screwed. Like he's been such a big part of the offense and helping us move the football that I'm like, I don't know what to expect. We've not really seen like who's going to step up, who's not going to step up, and I'll be honest with you, to put up 27 points without him, even if it was the Browns, it's encouraging. I think it's encouraging because, Keanu Benton, obviously, we'll talk about this in a second, but Keanu Benton's interception really kind of sets the offense up nicely. The Muth punt sets us up nicely, so you had some favorable field position. But you know what? Like you mentioned it was another slow start offensively. What do you make of this? Because this is not a 1 week thing. It's not a 2 week thing. This is like a trend all season long.
I just think it's like it feels like the scripted plays. Obviously, everybody knows the scripted plays the first couple drives, right? I feel like the scripted plays just need a revamp. Not a revamp, maybe like a switch up, right? Because it feels like we're doing the same thing. The first drive. If I'm not mistaken, we started 3 and out, correct?
Yep.
And it's just we can't do that. Like you can't do that against the next 4 games. The Eagles of the world, the Ravens of the world, the Bengals of the world, the Chiefs of the world, whomever the hell we play in the playoffs, whether it's the Chargers or the Ravens or the Texans or whomever it might be, we can't start like that. So I honestly I do think it just needs to be. I think the scripted plays themselves, kind of how the game plan off the rip, off the jump, needs to be changed up.
Does it feel to you like they're doing a little too much of just trying to get number one, the run game going, and then number two, very easy, quick completions to get Russ like in rhythm? Like I don't know, I really don't know what to make of it because it just the offense obviously opens up in the second quarter. For whatever reason, we're like absolutely dominating everyone in the second quarter, and it's not even like remotely close. But it's taken until that second quarter, and we saw honestly in the Cincinnati game, it took until basically the third quarter or the very end of that second quarter and going into the third quarter. Like, what's your feeling on? I guess, yeah, the plays obviously need to change up, but what are they trying to do even in the first couple series?
I don't know. I do agree with you. I think they're trying way too hard to put an emphasis on the run. It's one of those things, man. If you don't need to run the ball, you don't have to run the ball. Like you don't like the first two plays doesn't need to be zone run to Najee for 2 yards, zone gap run to Najee for -1 yards, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there looking at 3rd and 9 and you're going 3 and out because all you're doing is throwing fucking fade balls to the outside. You don't need to do that. Like if you have to start a game with the play action bootleg, I kind of liked how they were doing kind of, I would say, in the middle of the season, around the ballpark of like the Jets, Giants, Commanders games, when they were kind of starting the games off with something gimmicky, right? Like a little play action rollout to flowing up to Darnell Washington. Like, I'm cool with that, man. I like that shit. It doesn't need to be, like, I know you want to get Najee going. I get it. But, like, you don't have to start every game with the same fucking 45 zone to Najee. It's like if it's getting you 2 yards, you're off schedule already. You don't want to be off schedule the first play of the game. Honestly, whether we get Pickens or not, Trent, one thing I will say, I know we'll probably talk about this on Friday. One thing I will say with this Eagles game, I know we'll definitely get into that later, but with this Eagles game, I say fuck it. First play, you throw a bomb. You let Russ go moonball to Calvin Austin or Scotty Miller or something. First play of the game, I don't give a shit what happens. If it's a pick, good, we're going to lose anyway. If it's a touchdown, good, let him come back. It's just like, yeah, I would like to see some of that. I think it's just a matter of throwing teams off because defenses at this point know exactly what we're going to try and do early, and that's what causes us to not be able to get anything going till it's 6 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like, and I would like probably at some point I need to go back and start charting and stuff, but I feel like it's been like 5 out of the last 6 games we've started the game off with a run play, and it's like Najee between the tackles where all you have to do really is load the box, and you're gonna have like a 2nd and long coming up because everyone in the world knows that play's coming. I don't know. It's just interesting to me the way that this continues to start slow and we're not adjusting. Would you try more of a gimmicky type play? Not even just taking a shot, but would you try a gimmick play to start this game against Philadelphia? Like
Absolutely.
Pony back sets, maybe like something to kind of give them a different look.
Just something cute.
Yeah.
Well, the way that this Philly team are going into play, and you could say all the hoopla of having beat Philly in Philly, blah 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 blah, all the hoopla, if you will. No, dude, it's really one of those things where this team is really 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 good, and if we don't start off hot, we're digging ourselves a big hole, right? Because if I'm Philadelphia and I win that toss, I'm kicking it away. I think our worst nightmare. The odds are obviously stacked against us, right? I think our absolute worst nightmare against Philly is starting out 3 and out. I think that's our absolute worst nightmare, and I think there's something else something needs to give, something needs to change within these next 4 games if we want to have any hope for the playoffs. Because, like, I'm serious, because like when you get into this part of the season, not only with the absolute heart of your schedule, but not the heart of the schedule, kind of the brute of the schedule, and then also into the playoffs, which is going to be a absolute battle in the AFC, you can't start your first 2-3 drives of the game going 3 and out and punting, right? It's just, it doesn't work like that. That can't be how it works.
Yeah, yeah, and you got playoff team this week in Philly, playoff team next week and Ravens, division rival, and you follow that up with World Series, my goodness, Super Bowl back-to-back champions. Must be still stuck on baseball season with all the free agent stuff going on. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions and the Kansas City Chiefs on a short week. I mean, like that's a brutal stretch right now, and you're right. If you start out the same way we've been starting out, these games can get away with you quick, and you're going to have to play catch up the rest of the game. And
And that's not what you want.
Yeah, this team's not built for that. So I'd be interested in hearing this from you, your perspective of this being at the game. Keanu Benton's interception is what really kind of seemed to start everything offensively. What did you see in the stands? Because I'll tell you what I saw when I was kind of watching.
Oh, we were going nuts. We were going absolutely nuts. My two buddies, I was in the middle of them, and they're like, "Yo, that's your boy, that's your boy." I'm like, "Hell yeah, it is!" it was absolutely fantastic, man. And then watching it on Hard Knocks, it made it even more funny. Watching the Hard Knocks episode last night when Stefanski's like, "Dude, you just can't do that." Right, but yeah, it definitely got us all going, and then scoring off of that was really kind of one of those things where we're like, all right, we're gonna win this game. All right, we're gonna win this game. Nice.
It was interesting because I actually thought so it was like the perfect play call for that particular screen pass that they were going to try to run because you had Beanie Bishop coming off the corner. And I thought he actually is kind of what helped set this whole thing up.
Oh, he disrupted it big time, yeah.
He gets up in the air in Jameis's face. Jameis kind of like double clutched that ball before he lets it go. And Benton, I mean, you could just see that dude. He's like getting ready to rush, and he sees the lineman start rotating. He's like, oh, okay, I know what this is. And he just darts right out there. And the three of those guys, between Austin making that play call in that moment, Benton reading the play as well as he did, and then Beanie Bishop really blowing it up by not giving any sort of clear lane for Jameis to throw to, man, that was like the perfect storm of defensive football on that one play call. So I really like the way that they did that. And Benton, man, no better guy on this team to get an interception. He's been working his butt off all season. So I thought it was an electric play. It obviously sets up the offense to give him a chance to score. They were on like the 33-ish somewhere in that ballpark. It was a very, very short field, so definitely helped them. So obviously you mentioned we were out without Pickens in this one. Was this like no Pickens, no problem? We got this after we got rolling there in the second quarter? Like, what would you see?
Well, at the tailgate, we were terrified. I'm going to be honest. Like, we were all just kind of sitting there like, oh, no. and my buddy looked at me and he's like, dude, Colin, who's going to be like the wide receiver one right now? And I'm like, dude, like Scotty Miller or Mike Williams? I had no idea what to say. I didn't know. So that was funny. And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, yeah, Muth is going to have a big day today. Like that, I felt like that was pretty obvious. And screw it, let's just get into that as well. Muth has had the last 3 games has had 3 fantastic games. I've been very happy with Pat Freiermuth. I'm glad to see it coming into fruition. Finally, him getting his deserved targets. He's notoriously bad in run blocking, but I thought even these last couple games has been just a little bit of a step up. Obviously, PFF's going to tell you all you need to, but nonetheless, it's just the baby steps for him in terms of that aspect of the game. But in terms of receiving, in terms of tight ends in general, Trent, I feel like me and you have talked about this. In terms of pass catchers, you have to put them in the elite conversation. Strictly pass-catching tight ends, you got to put him in the elite conversation. He always makes plays when he needs to. Has he had a drop in his career yet? I don't remember. Like,
I feel like there was one. I feel like I remember one last year where it was like if he play, like it hits him in the hands, I think the defender gets him by the arm and kind of breaks it up, not by touching the ball, but more or less like just disrupting his arm play. Like he came down, chopped down.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. I think sometime in the middle of the season last year. I think it doesn't happen often. If it ever happens, it really is very few and far between. So I know you really wanted to talk a lot about him. And do you feel like did you see anything different from him in this game? Because I feel like it's like he's doing the same things he's been doing all season. We're just finally giving him the football.
Yeah, man, he's doing his thing. That third down, like when Russ rolled out and found him in the middle of the field for a diving catch, that was honestly some of the loudest that crowd was during the game, because it was kind of a lot of the plays that were made were very mundane. Like it just felt like especially when we were driving the field, it was just very mundane. It was like easy, dump offs or or like slight fade balls that we weren't sure if they were catches or not, or like Najee or Jalen Warren little 4-yard runs and stuff. So a lot of the plays are very mundane. That third down, it was like 3rd and 12, I think, and Russ kind of rolled out of structure and found Muth in the middle of the field across his body. That was definitely pretty electric. But yeah, I mean the usage of Muth specifically on 3rd down these last few games is something that I really like to see as well. Not only just the usage in general, but the usage on 3rd down. I mean, Lord knows that's what tight ends are for. So yeah, it's very good to see.
Yeah, I mean, this one, 3 catches, 3 targets, 48 yards, and a touchdown. That's with Russ only having 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's obviously was a significant part of that offense. And
he was the leading receiver, right?
I believe so, because I think it was like between he and Mike Williams had 36 yards. Scotty Miller had a nice game, 38 yards.
Yeah, okay.
So it's pretty much it was Muth. Washington and Calvin Austin had a couple, a catch, but no, Washington did not have a catch. Is that not registered as a catch?
No, he didn't have a catch.
Yeah, that was the game before. Yeah, Mike Williams was I think the 3rd leading receiver, 36. Scotty Miller, I think, had 38.
Cool. So,
yeah, I think it's something you and I have talked quite often about, like getting him more involved in this game plan. And no better game than when you're missing George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth almost has to be your de facto go-to guy, in my opinion. Like, he's such a great receiving threat. I think he's been blocking better than I think PFF gives him credit for. He's not great, but I think he's done better. He's been a lot more serviceable in the run game than obviously years past. Still has some moments where he just gets absolutely driven backwards by a guy, and
he's just not all that physical.
Yeah, he's not. But that's what you get in a pass catching tight end a lot of times too. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, how often do you see Travis Kelce manhandling guys at the line of scrimmage? You know what I mean? Like, he's not that kind of guy either, and obviously Kelce's a little bit more athletic than Pat is, but I mean, that's what these guys are. They're there to focus on catching the ball and moving the sticks. And that's what Pat's done these last 3 games. We got a special guest once again making an appearance. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that it's been kind of like a breath of fresh air to finally see Muth getting involved. We need him to be a much, much bigger part of this thing as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, down the stretch especially. And that's the thing. Like, getting him going. This is a good time to get him hot. I will say that as well. Like, this is a very good time to get him hot. I don't know the metrics on Philly or Kansas City and how they defend tight ends. I know Brock Bowers had a fantastic game against the Chiefs in the most recent time they've played. And I'm pretty sure when the Chiefs beat the Bills, Dalton Kincaid had a good game too. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I mean, this is a good time to get him hot, and especially with Pickens not being there, this is a good little time to kind of stat pat him.
Yeah, I think even against Philly, because I mean, Philly's got such a tremendous secondary. They've been playing lights out all season. Like, he's going to have to be effective against the linebackers. I think that's where, if we're going to have, it's looking like Pickens is probably out, right? So if he's not going to be there, you really have got to find ways to scheme open Pat Freiermuth, because they're going to be trying to shut him down.
Oh yeah.
What did you think about some of the other guys that stepped up? Your boy Scotty Miller, like I said, he had a pretty nice game in this.
Yeah.
A couple nice catches, to be honest with you. What did you think about some of the supporting cast?
Like, in terms of offense?
Offensively, yeah. Mike Williams, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, those kind of guys. What did you think about that group?
Vanny go with another touchdown. Our guy, right? That dude gets the most gimmicky targets. It's so funny. It's just like even I remember there's people behind us that we were talking to too, and they're like, "Is that fucking Van Jefferson?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, that's Van Jefferson." Mike Williams had that fantastic catch on the sideline there, and then Scotty Miller had a couple nice big plays. Mike Williams actually had the really nice catch when we were it was like third and 12, and we were close to the 50, and we decided to run a 6-yard out route and throw it to him short of the sticks. I wasn't positive of that decision, but hey, it got us in Boswell range, so
yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Did you think that offensive pass interference when you saw it live?
It was the opposite end of the field, I'm going to be honest. And it was kind of just like, it was kind of a bang-bang play, like kind of happened in the snap of a finger. So we were just like, okay, 58 yards or something for Boswell. So, because, Boswell ranges like 1.5 times everyone else's, so.
Yeah, to me, I even live, like, I didn't think it looked like pass interference. He never extends the arms. He wasn't, like, grabbing or holding. There was not a ton of...
Was that what they were saying on the broadcast, that there might have been?
Yeah, it just, to me, it just didn't look like anything was really going on. And honestly, the commentators didn't seem to think that should have been pass interference either. They didn't really go definitively one way or the other.
Who did we have?
That was Mike Williams. He was the one who was...
No, I'm sorry. Who do we have, like, commentating? Sorry. What was our crew?
Oh, who was calling last game? Was that Iron Eagle? I think it was the game Iron Eagle was calling. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, they didn't seem to feel like it was like egregious enough, and I don't know. It was interesting just because I personally did not think it was pass interference on him. And like I said, there was no extension of the arm, there was no like grabbing of the jersey. They weren't hand fighting. It was, I don't know. It was kind of ticky tack to me. But your boy Van Jefferson now 1 touchdown behind George Pickens on the season. Like he would have seen that coming. Dude,
I think our leading touchdown guys are Muth and Austin, right? Yeah. What? Yep. 6 each, 5 each?
5 for Pat, 4 for Calvin Austin right now.
Okay, so
2 for Jefferson.
Okay, and then a bunch of ones or something. Because, dude, we have to have, 18 passing touchdowns on the season total?
17.
17? Okay, so, okay.
Yeah. Calvin Austin, man, still 16.8 average. That's pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He wasn't active in this one what I was wondering either. And the snap counts were kind of down for Mike Williams compared to what I was thinking would have been. He actually was 4th in snap count, I believe. In this one, I think he was just ahead of Scotty Miller, but he was behind Ben Skoranek, Calvin Austin.
Yeah, we did see a lot of Skoranek, didn't we?
Yeah. It might have been.
Did he have a catch?
No, I don't think. It didn't seem like it. I didn't see it on here.
By the way, it needs something in run blocking, though. It needs something in run blocking. I love that guy. We have to keep him as wide receiver 6 next year. We have to.
I like him a lot, honestly.
Special teams upside, too, we have to.
Yeah. I think he's been probably him and James Pierre, honestly, both have done very great punt coverage stuff this year. But, man, he seems to just get there every time.
Dude.
Every time.
No, he's so good. I thought out of all the guys the kind of the gimmicky signings we had in the regular season, obviously, I think we re-signed like a lineman like John LeGlue or something, but in terms of him and Scotty and Mike Williams and Preston Smith, I thought he was kind of the one that might have been my favorite. Like hindsight 2020, right? He's probably been my favorite so far, because you're right, man. He's everywhere on special teams, and there's clips of him just outstanding run blocking. I mean, what the hell is this guy doing catching seams against the Bengals? But it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I did too, man. Good for him too, because just going back to the Cincinnati game, when he just absolutely throws Geno Stone in the end zone, you gotta like a guy like that, man.
Dude, yeah.
Easy to root for.
Yeah, Notre Dame legend Ben Skoranek.
Yes, that's your boy. I thought Jaylen Warren maybe had his best game of the season. Not necessarily statistically as much, but I think just the way that he ran the football, he really provided the spark running the football. He got moving before Najee did. Obviously, the catch and run stuff that he always does so well. What'd you think about Jalen's really first big game, especially after the lack of usage when Najee went out last game? That was confusing to us both.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting to that point where we're about done with the Cordell Patterson carries. I think we've got, me and you have been very clear about it all year. Listen, he was signed to be a kick returner with the new bullshit rule. Let's keep it at that, right? If he has special teams upside, use it. right? That's why you have a 32-year-old running back, right? You have him for special teams upside, and I think we've kind of nipped that in the butt with how Warren's been playing the last game or so. But yeah, I mean, in terms of pass pro and catching the ball out of the backfield, I think this was 1,000% Warren's best game.
I missed the defender. I thought maybe it was Devin Bush, but somebody came blitzing right between McCormick and Broderick Jones, and Jalen Warren just absolutely stonewalls him and puts him in the dirt.
Yeah, see, I was trying to figure out who that was because I watched like a little bit of the all 20. It was another thing where it's like, for me, it's tough. Like if I go to the game, I have a tough time watching the all 22, but I don't remember whom it was, but I think it might have been Devin Bush, which actually Devin Bush didn't have a bad game. I didn't think so, at least. But yeah, no, he's fun to watch. He's not all that great of a run blocker just because he's small and with in terms of stature, but the clips of him just absolutely stonewalling somebody or just throwing somebody are fantastic every time.
I love it. I love it. Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball in this one. I thought they played much better. It's a bad Cleveland Browns team, obviously, but to be fair to Cleveland, Jameis has had this offense moving and clicking much better than what they had been. Obviously with Watson. How did you feel that the defense played in this one as compared to what we've been seeing?
Yeah, I mean Porter was a little better. I thought the whole defensive line played very well. I mean, TJ, yes, he was kind of invisible, but he made plays when he needed to. Highsmith, welcome back, buddy. Great game. Patrick Queen had one of his better games of the year, which is always nice to see. Actually, no, let me rephrase that. The whole linebacker unit was fantastic. All three of them made good plays, whether it be coverage, run defense, etc., tackling. I don't know if any of them had a missed tackle, which is if not one of your second level guys on a 3-man rotation has a missed tackle, it's a damn good game, right? And I think it's really good to see all three of them playing very well at once. Again, we're still talking about a bad Browns team, but nonetheless. And then in terms of the secondary, I think Porter was a little better. Jackson, I don't really know how many times Jackson got targeted, frankly, that I can think of. I know Elliott and Minka, neither of them were very good in coverage from what I saw and from what I the optics of it at least, But other than that, I mean, I was pretty happy with it. The front seven played very well, and it's probably why we had a pretty deciding victory, or I guess however you want to put that, dominant victory, if you will. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I saw. Deshaun Elliott, I thought, was phenomenal until he was in that deep third cover. I couldn't. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're on TV, and I didn't watch the game back, but there was a couple different times that I saw he was either in a deep third, but he was the middle guy. It was not Minkah Fitzpatrick. There was a time where I think it was the touchdown that went to Judy. I think Jackson thought he was passing it off to Elliott, and Elliott never came over and picked him up, and that's what led to that touchdown. And I'm like, why is Deshaun Elliott like the deepest guy on the field right now? So I don't know if that play kind of looked like he might have been in a cover one. And then there was a play later on in the game that I remember that specifically stuck out, that he's like playing that like super deep Minkah role, and I'm like, why is our box safety?
Well, because I think some of the times they do play cover one specifically. They like having Minkah on the tight end. I saw that. You see that a lot. You could see that a lot during the Ravens game when they ran cover one, when it was like you had Minkah over top of the shoulder of Mark Andrews, or I guess in this case David Njoku. Last game with Mike Gesicki as well. I think that's one thing, and I think that does need fixed.
Yeah.
Just in general.
When they moved the ball, when he was in that deep coverage and Minkah was not the guy back there, that's when they were moving the ball a little bit more effectively. And I felt like if they just reverse the roles, because I think Elliott's good enough in coverage to go up against some of these tight ends. I know Gesicki's athletic. I know Njoku's very athletic. But like I felt like he can do enough, and he's shown enough throughout the season that I would rather have him there and let Minkah take away that deep part of the field. Because if you look at a team like the Eagles, do you really want Elliott being the deep guy with, two premier wide receivers on the outside? I don't. Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather see Minkah being that guy back there to try to negate some of that stuff. And
I think
let him come play Dallas Goedert inside. And I know we're going to dive into more of that later. But
yeah.
Like that's where I was at with that. But outside of that, I thought he played a phenomenal game. in his natural position.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you'll see that you won't see any of that during the Eagles game because Goddard did just get hurt, so they're starting that Calcaterra kid. I think if there's any point in general when we're one high, one deep, whatever you want to call it, it'll be Minka. Just because I mean, without Goddard, what the hell are you gonna have? What the hell are you gonna do having Minka? Like you might as well put Beanie on Grant Calcaterra at that point, right? So you'll see that a little bit more in the Eagles game probably.
I totally agree with you on the linebacker unit. I thought Peyton Wilson played pretty well. I thought, I mean, listen, Postic's going to be seeing Elena Roberts in his nightmares for like the rest of his life because I literally posted as soon as that happened, like Elena Roberts. I said check the obituaries because Elena Roberts just killed a guy. Like I've never seen an offensive lineman fly 5 yards backwards on a toss play. That was absolutely majestic.
Dude is such a Steeler, bro. He's such a Steeler. Like, dude, I'm so happy he came out and said that on 93.7 The Fan today. Like, dude, he is such a Pittsburgh Steeler. It's unreal.
Yes. And you know what's fun? So we've talked a lot, and I know they were facing some different passing offenses and stuff like that, but we kept talking a lot this season earlier on that, like, why is he not on the field more? Because you and I both like Elena Roberts a lot. And then as soon as he gets on the field, man, he just starts making plays and he starts flying around. He blows up run plays left and right. And man, he's putting together quite the highlight reel of run stopper. And it's interesting, like his mindset versus these plays versus other linebackers. Cause I don't think Patrick Queen's going to go run through a guy like that. You know what I mean? He's going to try to use his athleticism to get around, where Elena Roberts just is going to run straight through a dude's chest. And it brings a good dynamic to this defense that we really need. And then the front group was fantastic. Cam Hayward, man, that dude is playing his best ball right now.
He should be in the depoy conversation.
I think so too. 8 sacks right now for a defensive, interior guy, and he's got to be one of the best run stoppers in the NFL right now. I mean, we talked about some of the best guys, Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence. He's got to be right there with all of them in the way he's been playing right now. You happy he signed back?
For now, yes. Yes, for now, I would say absolutely. I mean, yeah, he should be in the depoy conversation for sure. That's it. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. We did see some of the 3 linebacker looks, so we talked a little bit about that one on the pregame stuff, and we actually did get to see some. I didn't chart this either, but I feel like I saw it probably about 4 times in this game with TJ, Alex, and also Herbig all on the field at the same time. It did not go the way that I thought they were going to run that out. They actually had Cam and TJ being more of the inside guys, although TJ was still lined up in his natural position. Herbig was lining up outside of him at times or flipping inside. Kind of interesting the way they deployed that. Did you like that? Did you pick up on that when you were watching it in the game? Because the Alex Highsmith sack, that was one of the reps. And then Cam kind of like goes inside and hits the guard and the center and takes up 2 blocks. And Highsmith actually kind of wraps back around Cam. But you had both of the other 2 edge rushers on the opposite side all the way out. The difference is Herbig was kind of like in that wide 9 split, and TJ was just off the tackle's shoulder.
Just 5 tech, yeah. He always is, yeah.
He was like, I don't know, just the way they lined up and everything. It was interesting the way they lined that up, and wonder if we'll see more of it deployed like that, or if they'll kind of change it up and give different looks on it. But I liked it. I thought it was effective. But I don't know. Anything else you wanted to talk about on the defensive side of the ball? Because I mean, obviously, it's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, these are just some of those games where there's not really much to talk about defensively.
So let's talk about some injuries. Obviously, Pickens. So Pickens, I think, is looking more and more likely like he's going to miss his second week. Listed officially right now as doubtful. We saw Jalen Warren play when he was doubtful, but I don't think there's any indication that's going to be the same case with Pickens. But if you were a guy who had decision-making power in this, do you want him to play even at 80%?
No. No, you're a 10-3 team. Okay, you're going on the road against a NFC opponent who's clearly better than you. There's no, like, there would be no reason for me to say, yeah, let's go play him, right? You have a lot, and that's the beauty of it. You're in week 14, and you're 10-3, right? So you have a loss to give, and this is the game where I say, if you have a loss to give, you take it, right? I mean, again, you're on the road against a out of conference opponent who's clearly better than you. So all three of those things make me just sit there and say, yeah, there's no point. And also, he's your only receiver, right? Clearly, he's our only receiver. So yeah, there's absolutely no point to play him here. If you want to play him against Baltimore, and frankly, I'm more comfortable with him not playing against Baltimore than I am. Or no, I'm more comfortable with him not playing this week and possibly playing against Baltimore than playing this week and being an absolute no for Baltimore.
Yeah. The reason I think that's an interesting question is only because I feel like there's going to be the crowd out there that says, oh, we're playing for first place. We're playing for first in the AFC, so we get the home field advantage. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, if we beat the Ravens, we win the division, period. And you haven't been in that position for a long time.
Right.
There was a number of people that didn't even have this team making the playoffs. They had us finishing dead last.
And again, you still have a loss to give, right? You still have a loss to give because the Ravens have 5 losses as we speak. I get it. They're gonna go play the Giants and beat the living shit out of them. I understand that, but you still have a loss to give because after this game, realistically, right, the Ravens are gonna be 9-5 and you're gonna be 10-4. So you still have a loss to give. That to me is like where I'm just sitting there like, yeah, dude, no point. Don't even consider playing him. Like, yep. Just put him in the trainer's room all this week in practice. I don't care what you have to do. Don't even think about it.
I'm in the same boat with you because I just don't think that you want to risk him in this situation to try to like sell out for like the first overall seed because they're like, yeah, you're going to play Kansas City coming up. But even if you beat Kansas City, if they've not lost a game before then, you're still a game behind them. You're still not in first place. So why risk George Pickens against an NFC team that we don't have to beat? Because, in the long scheme of things, it's not like it's this huge relevant game for us. The relevant game comes the following week in Baltimore.
Correct.
We need to beat Baltimore to win our division and set ourselves up for the playoffs. And then you know what? Guess what? If he's still not at 100% after that game, you honestly can shut him down against Kansas City again and like give him a long break. And I don't know if people are going to be on board with that, but I feel like get yourself in the playoff first, then worry about like the rest of stuff. And I want to make the playoff by beating Baltimore and making them chase the wild card rather than the other way around, like it's been for so long where we're chasing that wild card spot. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Another big name pops up on the list. Deshaun Elliott actually is on this list too. Dante Jackson, I think everybody expects him to play. Larry O had the groin. Dude, soft tissue issues this year. Like,
it's the time. It's the time of the year. I don't typically read too much into it, especially because it's only Wednesday, right? If Friday comes and we're still worried about it, then okay. But it's like, dude, like this is the time of year where soft tissue injuries come up a lot, right? That's why Queen's resting, Mike Williams resting, Najee's resting, Isaac Seumalo's resting, Watt, Hayward. Let's go to Philly. Becton, Brown, Dickerson, Gardner Johnson, Lane Johnson, Darius Slay, Josh Sweat, Reed Blankenship. It's one of those things where it's like you just got to kind of cut the bullshit out. Like this time of year, man, like shit's going to happen in the middle of the week. I'm not going to look personally into it until Friday. But are the soft tissue injuries concerning? Yes. Do I think they're that concerning? No.
Okay, that's interesting because I was thinking about, we've got a new strength group in here that we've hired in this year and, wondering like what you thought about like their changes. Does it create more soft tissue issues than we've seen in the past?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been kind of an interesting roller coaster, but then I also thought about this and that this might be something a lot of people weren't quite thinking about. Some of these guys have been injury prone through their career anyway. Dante Jackson has always missed games. we've seen more of Dante Jackson than Carolina has. Like seriously, he's missed a good bit of time over his career, and he gets banged up, but he continues to play for us. So I mean, we have some guys who just that's who they've been. I mean, Elliott's missed time in the past too. He's a very physical player. Like
Larry O missed that. Yeah,
he's missed a ton of time. He's on the injury report every time he's had a game.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like shit like this, it's so late in the year, man. It's like I feel like there's tiers of the year where it's like week 6 is where you can finally judge a team. Week 10 is where you kind of know who's going to be a playoff team, and then week like 13 or 14, or I'll say week 14, kind of split it in fours, is like the time of the year where the bullshit gimmicky like, oh, my left toenail is starting to hurt and shit like that. Like, it's just a stupid time of year, and there's a reason why everybody's resting. So, I mean, when we talk on Friday on this podcast, if there's a problem, then I guess we'll talk about it then. But I mean, for right now, like me personally, I just don't typically look into injuries at this early in the week, this time of year. But
yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. So let's get into this about the Pickens stuff, because grade 2 is such a wide range of what that means injury wise, but assuming he's going to miss this Eagles game, so what's the answer right now if he misses some significant time? What if it goes beyond just this game? Like, someone has got to step up in this wide receiver room, right?
I wish I had an answer, dude. I truly I saw this on the agenda today, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to leave this to him, because I got nothing, dude. It's one of those things where it's like Pittsburgh did not correctly prepare for something like this. Like, this was our worst nightmare coming into the season. Like, oh god, if Pickens misses significant time, we're screwed, right? And we didn't properly prepare for it. So I personally have no idea. I would say use a similar approach to what you did against Cleveland, but you're going to play a lot better defenses than Cleveland. So yeah, I don't know, man. I got nothing, honestly. I just don't know what to say. I don't know what the solution could be, because you're not going to trot out Scotty Miller. You're not going to scout out Ben Skoranek. Maybe Mike Williams, but no. Like, I don't know.
They keep, like, Tomlin specifically keeps teasing this, like, Mike Williams' role is about to explode almost, like the way he's kind of teasing things out there. Like, I mean, do you think has he even seen more than 20 snaps yet so far?
It's not. It's not gonna increase, dude. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, he's been with this team since. This will be his 6th week with us. This will be week 6. So it hits the point where it's like, dude, if you haven't seen it increase yet, I got bad news for y'all. So.
Yeah. It's really strange kind of how this whole thing is gone, because I thought the whole reason they were bringing him in here is to give somebody else that can run opposite sides of the field as George, but like right now that's just not been the case. And I think he had 19 snaps in this last game, but I don't think he's cleared 20 snaps so far in a game this season. And when you got Ben Skoranek pulling like 23 snaps, what are we doing? Like, what is Mike Williams to this offense right now? So everybody get real comfortable with number 11 being out there as your number 2, and possibly your number 1 receiver in this George Pickens time frame. Like, I mean, it's
yeah. No.
It just goes back to Pat Freiermuth. Like, you're gonna have to just really, really find ways to get him involved in this game and utilize him, because he's the only true guy that you have. As good as what I feel like Calvin Austin has been this year, he's not your every down guy. I mean, he's your guy where you're going to take a shot and make some big plays. Sometimes you're going to get him a ball, but he's more of like a 3 catch max type guy. He's not going to be a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So let me throw this to you, because I feel like this is a lost thing, but I'm going to throw it to you anyway, just because I've heard people bringing it up. Roman Wilson's running. He's not back off IR, obviously, but he is running. He's been working out. They've been ramping up his running. Any thought of even trying to work him into this offense, or this is a redshirt year from your standpoint? And
I mean, dude, yeah, we've decided on redshirt since like fucking like week 8 or something. This is the redshirt year for him, and frankly, if he does get back fully healthy, he's not going to touch the field anyway. So I would say this is just a redshirt year for him. Get him back for next year. Get him healthy. Frankly, I don't know why we're even running him right now. I mean, dude, I think you're you're better off just waiting until the offseason to start getting him running again, man. I mean, the offseason is long, right? Everybody knows. January to August, right? So you got 7 months there to just get the guy. If you need to get him back from 0 to 100 full shape, that's totally fine. You have 7 months to do it. I would say risk nothing right now because we don't want a guy with a hamstring problem. That never ends up good. So.
No, it's just interesting because I've heard different actual reporters kind of conflicting on this. I've heard, I think it was Dulac said that he's basically taking a redshirt year, and then I heard somebody else who I can't recall off the top of my head right now saying that he is running, he is working out. They could see him maybe getting worked in, but he's never going to be a significant part of this offense. So I think anybody in the fan base who's hoping for this like revival of Roman Wilson and he's going to get into this offense, I think it's a bit of a pipe dream, personally. So what do you feel about so right now with the playoff picture kind of playing out the way it is? Let's just talk about this first. And I didn't have this question on here, but who would you say in the AFC right now are kind of maybe your top 5 teams to look out for who have a shot of making a run at this thing?
Like other than us?
Including us, just like what would be your top 5 teams that you think right now?
Well, Kansas City's going to be your 1. That's your kind of by default. I would say Buffalo's your 2. I would say currently we're probably your 3. Probably Baltimore your 4, and then Houston or the Chargers, whomever wants to show up that day, is going to be your 5.
Yeah, I totally agree. Number 1, you can't count out the guys that's just won back-to-back, right? But let me ask you this. Do you think Buffalo is that much better than we are right now? Both the same records. They play significantly worse teams in their division right now. I guess the more the Bengals keep losing, it's not too far off. How much difference do you see in the 2 teams between us and Buffalo?
They have the MVP. We don't.
Fair. Russ, I saw somebody put Russ's 17 game projected numbers out there, and it was something like 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, I think, would be what he'd be averaging out right now. How would you feel with those numbers versus what Josh Allen's been putting up?
I mean, I feel good with it nonetheless. I mean, I think there's still a lot of things with Russell Wilson's game that needs to at least try to be fixed before. He can't keep running into sacks. He's got to start using the middle of the field more often. And frankly, it's like one of those things where his numbers would be capped regardless, just because the simple fact that, somehow Buffalo does have a better receiving core than we do. Or somehow ours is worse than theirs. Somehow, right? That team's trotting out with Mac Hollins at wide receiver too, and it's still better. It's really just ours is that bad, and I think his numbers are capped in that regard. But I don't think it's. I mean, Trent, I don't think we could really. I mean, kind of what is the conversation, right? You got Josh Allen, who's 27 or 28. I mean, who's on pace for 40 total touchdowns with no turnovers, picks, sacks, frankly. And then you got Russell Wilson, who's just Russell Wilson. I mean, I'm comfortable with Russell Wilson playing pretty much anybody. I just think that Buffalo's hot. They have a lot more playoff experience with that certain group of guys. And, they're one of those teams you don't want to play in Buffalo.
Yep, no, you don't. And that's something that I think we're going to end up going to face if, depending on how the seeding ends up working out in this thing, you're going to see them or Kansas City at some point, regardless. If you're going to make a serious run, you're going to run into one of those 2 teams, and it's going to be at their place. So
that's your divisional game, is one of those 2.
Yeah. So, how are I guess I mean I really don't think Baltimore's defense is the big downfall for them. I mean, I feel like between us, the Bills, and Kansas City, we're the only 3 teams that you really would consider a complete team right now. Like you said, the Chargers, they just can't seem to put it all together right now. I think the Chargers are a better team than maybe Houston is at the moment, but they just can't seem to put it all together.
Those are just 2 teams that I wouldn't necessarily want to play. I wouldn't want to play the Chargers at all. That's a scary team. That's a very scary team right now. That's just, and again, those rankings. I mean, I still had us at 3rd, right? I mean,
right.
Buffalo and Kansas City and then the Chargers in Houston. I haven't really gotten to watch Houston a lot this year. I kind of have a sour taste in my mouth about Houston because Stephon Diggs got hurt, and that kind of screwed one of my fantasy teams. I know Stroud's not playing nearly as well, but again, they won a playoff game last year, so.
Yeah, I just think that I think we're in a better position than a lot of fans want to give us credit for. Like, it's good to be critical of our team. Our defense hasn't been fantastic at times. That Bengals game, it was definitely not a good team play right there at all whatsoever. I mean, you give up a ton of points to that team, 31 points basically just on defense. It's fair to be critical of the offense. I mean, you and I were just sat here the whole opening of the show talking about how the offense can't get out of the gates and doesn't really start playing until the second quarter. And sometimes they're not playing until halftime. So, there's a lot to be critical about, but sometimes I feel like people think the floor is about to fall out and we're about to go on this like 3-game losing streak and we're going to be out of it. And it's going to be like back to where we were, when we started 11-0 and then just lost everything out from there. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a sky is falling moment. I just think that we got 3 very tough games, but look, we've already beat Baltimore. Depending on George Pickens, I think we can hang with Kansas City. They haven't exactly, been crushing people. Of course, this is the time of year they turn it on. So preface that. And the Eagles have their own drama right now, perfectly honest with you. I mean, we'll get into that Friday, but I don't know. Do you see this like floor falling out? We're just going to, lose from here on out and crawl our way into the playoff again like we try to do every year?
No, I do. I do think that we'll probably go 0-3 these next 3. But I think we'll be able to beat Cincy the last week of the year. It's at our place. It's going to be a 10-7 Pittsburgh or 10-6 Pittsburgh Steelers versus probably a 10-6 Baltimore Ravens, right? So beating Cincy would help with that a lot. It'll put us at 11-6, and they'll probably go 11-6 after beating Cleveland. We would have a we would be in over them if we both ended 11-6. If we split, for the simple fact that strength of schedule is a lot harder for us this year. But yeah, man, I truly do think that I don't think the sky is fall or the floor is falling from underneath us. I don't think we're fraudulent. I think we are a complete team. I just don't think it was how I said that like the Thursday night game against the Browns was a scheduled loss. Yeah. Well, fuck the NFL because these next 3 are scheduled losses, right? You're gonna put us against like NFC team number 2, AFC team number 2, and divisional rival who's really good, all within 11 days. Fuck you guys. But we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, right? So I don't think any of us expected to be 10-3 this current point. Again, and I talked about it earlier this year, Trent. I really remember talking about it after the Cowboys game. These last 2 games were games we would have had back, right? I think being 11-2 right now would be really helpful. I think being 11-2 right now, or frankly 12-1, would be really helpful. Am I still pissed about Dallas? Absolutely. Am I still pissed about Indy? Absolutely. Cleveland, again, that's kind of a voodoo thing with Thursday Night Football in the AFC North. I don't know what the hell it is, but that was a scheduled loss. And yeah, I remember telling you that week 4 that I will forever be pissed about that Dallas game. And all I can think about right now is, okay, you're about to go play 3 incredible Super Bowl contending football teams in 10 fucking days, and you couldn't go out and beat Dallas when you needed to. I mean, that's being 11-2 right now would be really nice. Just gonna put it that way.
Yeah.
So
the health of Pickens is going to go a long way to determining like where this is. I don't know. Let me ask you this, because this is kind of off the topic, and this is going to end up being a conversation in the off season where they're right now with about 6 minutes to go. But would you pay George Pickens in the off season right now?
No,
I wouldn't either, and I feel like people think I'm insane for saying that. And I threw out like probably a crazy high number there earlier because I feel like this wide receiver market continues to boom. At some point it has to course correct. I just don't think it's going to be this year. And we're about to see a pretty significant jump in the salary cap. I feel like he and his agent are going to be asking for like $37 million, which is, I think Justin Jefferson's at what, 35? per. There ain't no way I'm paying a guy who's this unstable anywhere near that kind of money. Like, the player is phenomenal.
Well, I mean, again, dude, you watch that Browns game, and you're watching that Browns game, and it's pretty much I had the same thought that a lot of the kind of the old heads, if you will, had. It's like, yeah, you watch this game and you say, oh, this is why Tomlin kind of lets him get away with whatever, because there's no other talent. I mean, you have Muth. Muth is fantastic, but your tight end is never going to be that dude. We all love Najee. Again, he's not a talent that Pickens is. So I think the only thing I'm thinking about in the offseason right now is what receiver we can get in the first or second round that's worth a damn. Because Roman Wilson, for what it looks like, was a miss. So I don't know.
I had this idea. James and I were talking a bit back and forth, and I kind of floated. Yes, and I floated a theory out there of if we get a big time receiver in free agency, or even if we don't, I'll throw this out there. Even if we don't, I think it still works better if you do. But let's say we go get T. Higgins, because I think he's going to be the top target for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this offseason. I think Tomlin loves him. I think he wants him just about as bad as any other player he's seen in the offseason, just like he wanted Patrick Queen. I think he's going to try to find a way to make that work. I think we're going to go get T. Higgins in free agency. And I would immediately trade George Pickens. Okay? And even if you take a number 2, because I think his character flaws are going to drive his price tag down from a 1 to a 2, I would then trade both number 2 picks, second round picks, to get back into the first round. And I would take one or maybe even both wide receivers and just stack the wide receiver room in this upcoming draft. Or you could even do defensive line and wide receiver.
For what quarterback? For 37-year-old Russ or Justin Fields who can't throw anything other than a bullet?
I'm assuming that it's a foregone conclusion they're going to re-sign Russell Wilson. Like, I don't think that's even like in question at this point. I'm pretty sure the organization's probably got their mind made up. They just don't do business during the football season. But I think if we did, the deal would already be done. I think that's just how they feel about it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Frankly, I haven't really thought a whole lot about the offseason. If they were to go out and get a big-time receiver, I don't think trading Pickens would be the good move, because it's like, oh, you're right back to square one with only having one receiver and a bunch of practice squad guys. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of a loaded question that I haven't really thought about. So
yeah, we'll probably dig into more of this stuff like once the offseason comes. But it just became like a kind of a topic of conversation at one point, and I was just like, I'm like you can still get a first round talent wide receiver. Either you take the guy with the first round pick you have this year, or package both second round picks, move into the first round again. Even if you wanted to take like a defensive lineman to replace Larry Ogunjobi, or if you want to take another corner and maybe we don't re-sign Dante Jackson because of injuries, or whatever you want to do. Like, I don't care what you did, but at some point you still can get back in the first round to get a wide receiver talent. So I don't know. I just think that and who knows? We might get T. Higgins, and George Pickens is perfectly healthy, perfectly happy, and I just don't think they pay him, man. I think it's going to create a lot of friction. I think it's going to be a very unhappy ending.
Well, I mean, you have one more year after this year, so.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. That's kind of all I had for this one. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Not a whole lot, no. This Eagles preview is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for many reasons, just because it's not going to be all that great as a Steelers fan. I'm going to be honest. Like, sorry for whoever's watching. I hate to foreshadow it for you, but I'm the all-time skeptic or pessimist and what is it? Skeptist? How do you say that?
Skeptic. Yeah.
I'm one of the biggest skeptics you'll ever see on TV. So. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be a tough one, but whatever. Good win against the Browns.
Good win against the Browns. Move on. 10-3. Can't be asking for too much more than where we're at right now. So, all right, buddy. Well, I appreciate it as always. Anybody watching, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check in on Friday. Eagles Eagles, even if you don't want to hear some of the things we've got to say about this one. This is going to be a tough one. But appreciate you coming back on as always. And we might have to get you and Lowry back on again on this Eagles preview because you guys get a little back and forth going. I love it.
Got to, man. All right, man. I appreciate you having me, though.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.